Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar presented by Agnès and Guy on the theme, Who Am I? Who Am I Not? Please welcome Agnès and Guy. Thank you, Agnès and Guy.
Thank you.
Agnès, your mother is here now. Are you okay?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. And I think this is quite a question, no? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Who am I? Have you ever found any answer? Does the revelation brought some answer to that question? Well, let's see. We will reflect on that together today. But first, I think let's connect. All right. So before we go deep in our reflection and share, we will do a moment of worshipful meditation. And all right. So if you can maybe close your eyes. And you know, it's interesting because our lives start with the first breath and end with the last one. So in between, there's millions of breath, and God is. So let's focus on our breath for a couple of minutes and breathe in through the nose and exhale through the nose. And let's wiggle our shoulder and relax. There's always tension in our neck and in our shoulder. And let's let go a little bit. We're going to let God in more today together. So as we breathe in, maybe you want to put your hand on your stomach and feel your belly coming out. And then you breathe out and feel your belly coming in. Let's breathe in the peace of God, that peace that surpasses all understanding, that we access through living faith. And let's breathe out all the worries, all the questioning, all the perplexity, to leave more room for God. Let's breathe in the love of God. And let's breathe out all these limiting labelings that people have put on us or we have put on ourselves. Let's breathe in the source. And let's exhale all the obstacle to our communion, communication, and collaboration with our beloved thought adjuster. Let's breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, we'll do a few more in silence, and Agnès will take us out with a prayer. Breathe in. Breathe out.
Well, thank you, God, dear God, for getting us together around this question, who am I? And of course, who am I not? It's not that easy, and especially alone, to be able to answer those questions. So here together, give us what is needed to understand what is our essence and to act in the world from that place and not from those places of our labels that we think we are, but we are not. So thank you for all the thought adjusters gathering here, gathered together, the angels and all celestials that are here in support to the work that we are going to do today together. And really, we know that at the end of this session, things are going to be more clear. And on those things, well, our personal thought adjusters are going to continue the work within us in transformation. So please bless all the people here, all of us here, and bless the work that we are going to do in the 2 hours coming. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Agnès. Well, thank you all for being here and for understanding that there's no shortcut, there's no easy path to paradise, but there's certainly an accelerator, and it's the union of soul. So nobody here with the final answer, and like they were asking in that quiz, final answer? This is a ongoing answer, and I think by sharing and by pooling our point of view, our reflection and all that, we're gonna gain greatly from one another. So these are what is called existential question. Who am I? Where am I coming from? Where I'm going? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of my life? So many questions like that. And it's interesting they're labeled existential because we're experiential being. So how can we bring all of that together, the experiential and the existential? Is it in really delving and trying to have a better response to who am I? So who have ever asked himself or herself this question? Raise a hand. Everybody, no? No? Sure, you never ask yourself this question, who am I?
Guy, I would just quickly say that since I was 2.5 years old and had started my continuous consciousness, I am the same person today as I was then. And I kind of was self-aware even at 2.5. So I don't really ask it, I experience it. But I'm amazed that, you know, as much as my life has changed, I haven't. And that to me is a remarkable thing. And I love how the Revelation, Guy, sort of backs that up, saying, you know, personality is the one changeless thing in a life experience of nothing but change.
Okay, that's a good way to start. Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, thank you.
Among all of you who ask yourself that question, would you like to share an answer or some reflection that you came to with in asking yourself that question?
Easy has his hand raised.
Easy, go ahead. We don't see you, Easy.
So I won't have a camera. My hand was raised in answer to the question whether or not I had.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and lower it.
Okay. Do you want to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. It's a big question. It's something I've thought about quite a bit over my life, but most certainly in the time since, oh, I'm sorry, my mic is looking bad. Also in the time since Guy proposed to class, I find myself studying paper 5, paper 105, searching that whole I am question. The thing that I guess stands out to me most is that from an earthly standpoint, if someone has a child, then that child takes on the qualities of them. And it says the first volitional thought or act of the father in personalizing himself was, I am father of the eternal son, thereby establishing himself as father and establishing the eternal son as a thing. So our personality comes from God, our spirit comes from the eternal son, our mind comes from the Holy Spirit. So it seems to me, and although we are greater than the sum of our parts, if you add those parts up, you arrive from the same place you left, which is back to God. Faith sons, as Christ said, for those who come into full God consciousness, or to quote Paul, being like Christ, who thought it not robbery to consider himself equal with God. Now, of course, we are imperfect beings striving for that perfection, but in the same way that a 3-year-old child is striving for the adulthood or the looks or whatever their father, their mother, whomever, I believe that eventually who we grow into is who we came from. It's like the thought adjuster papers tells us, it's not that we it's not that we only proceed from God, but we also are made of his stuff. So that's my 4 cents.
That's your short version. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Izzy. Alfonso. We're gonna need some feminine answer after. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah, good morning to everybody there.
Good morning.
Yeah, there's something that I think I always had that clear in myself, that I'm part of something, that I for some reason I gotta do. There's a purpose in my life, and I know that from very early age, 13, 12, 14, and I noticed I was different, than my friends, Then I always was inclined to find truth, to find something new, something, that will help me, evolve and develop. But I think I always had that in it, that I was being loved and being cared for, because that's how my life has been, so many blessings, so many opportunities, and there's no doubt in my mind that I'm something that the Father appreciate, and I've been nurtured and taking care of it. That is no doubt about in my mind, that I been loved and cared for our Father. That's the short answer. That's what I come out with. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. I am different. I'm becoming different. I am loved. That's good. Many good answer there. Ara.
Yeah, I've got an even shorter answer, really.
Okay. We like women, they're practical.
Yeah, I think I am not me when I'm impatient and uncontrolled or undisciplined or lazy, or all the negative sides of myself. I don't think that's me at all. But I think it is me when I'm showing the fruits of the Spirit more. And that's what I feel is the real me.
Very good. Very good. Yes, Judy, you want?
She was just doing thumbs up.
But she can answer too.
I was giving Hara a thumbs up.
2 thumbs up
Good
for
to see you, Hara. Who am
Doreen
I?
after. Doreen is going to share after
After
Judy.
Judy.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question never really consciously arose while I was growing up. I think as I took on more experiential situations, I began to think, why am I? Who am I? Why am I being exposed to these? What can I add to who I am? And how can I put the who I am to work with other people? And the who am I, as some others have said, their upbringing, their family lives, we are who our parents built us to be, to the certain extent where our heavenly parents take over. And we look towards a different direction, outward, upward, and inward. And that's the way I look at who am I. I hope as a good person, like Harris said, there are lots of labels I'd like to get rid of and have tried, and once in a while they pop up. But I can overcome them with the better ones, fortunately, because I've gotten older and I lost some of my fight. Thank you.
Very good.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Doreen.
Yes, thank you, Agnès. Good morning. For me, it wasn't who am I, it was why do I exist? I could not understand the world around me. It was so evil and so negative. I thought, why am I here? And, you know, and again, I'll just preface it by saying I wasn't brought up in any religion. It was all atheist. So I did not understand it all. But I thought that was a good thing because as I got older, it made me go inside and search and connect with something that I made up and didn't know if it was real. And of course, that's the spirit inside myself at a very young age. And and that to me was a blessing. So the adversity when you're very young, the early on, you don't take anything for granted and you start to look, there has to be meaning in life. This is not real, it's horrible. And children don't have anything to compare it to. What do you know? Kids don't talk to each other. Even siblings don't talk to each other. So you live inside your head and you find a way to, a reason to exist. And of course, as you get older, it's not who am I anymore, it's what am I becoming. And that, and the path is laid out. Well, the spirit knows where to take you and how to get through to you. And for each of us, it's so very different, sooner or later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Patricia, you say, I knew, I felt it.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I recall as someone with people are referring to their childhood, probably when I was about 10, sitting out behind our house at nighttime, looking at the night sky. And I looked up and I asked myself the question, I didn't ask, who am I? I said, why am I here? And the answer I got was, I am here for a purpose. I must be here for a purpose. Well, that's all the answer I got. But a few years ago, I was practicing an out-of-body experience, and I had a really, really beautiful, I was suddenly in my vision or in this black velvet world dancing with a male. That was so incredibly beautiful. It took my breath away. And I said, who are you? So I'm putting the question to someone else, who are you? And the answer I got was, I am all the people you ever loved. And, that answer took my breath away, and it shifted me into, wow, loved. What do I know about love? And my answer was, for all my 70 plus years, not very much. So I concluded, enough of this searching. I need to look in myself. And always it is, I am this, or I am that, I am not this, I am not that, but we also always have to say, I am. So what can you accept of yourself in every moment? Will you, if you say, I am, whatever it is you're experiencing, are you ready to accept that? Or do you need to shift into something that is reflective of your true self? So that's what I'm working on. It's just trying to focus on what I can accept of myself that is true. Thank you.
Well, thank
you.
you. I would like to share something because you reminded me of an experience, and it was a little bit the questions you put yourself, and it was, what's my purpose here, and am I at the good place to do what I'm supposed to do? And but it was very strong in me because I always wanted to be elsewhere than wherever I was. And for many years, I was suffering of that because I wanted to be in the south of France, where my mother's family is, in front of the ocean, instead of being in Belgium. I was not accepting anything. And so I remember that I really asked very, very strongly, am I at the correct place to do what I'm supposed to do? And I was driving my youngest daughter to school, and we drove not far from school, and there on the road in a bend, and I was not driving quickly, there was a little boy between two and 3 years old, and he was just on the road. I stopped, wondering where that little boy was coming from. And I picked that boy up, and I was looking for a car, you know, that a mom could have let the car turn and that little boy coming out of it. I didn't find anybody, but I went into that school or little school, and he ran away from the school, but nobody noticed it. And I remember that when I gave that little boy to one of the responsible there, she said to that little boy, you really had an angel with you today. And she told me you were his guardian angel. And that was the answer. It was, you are exactly where you have to be to do exactly what you're meant to do. And you're meant to take care, be caring in every situation. And so it was a long time ago, nearly 20 years ago, but it reminded me of that, Patricia, your questioning. So thank you very much.
Silence is good. That's where we find who we are. Thank you, Agnès. Thank you, Patricia. Anybody else would like to? Yes, Kathy.
Well, I want to start out with who I'm not. And I'm not a lowly sinner that needs redemption from some other source. We have been told that we are insignificant and lowly, and that's just not the case. We're an important part of the growth of God, and each one of us has a special part of that. And if we would accept that instead of some of the other things that have been brought to us from organized religion, we would be moving along on our purpose a little better with joy, instead of just feeling like, oh, I'm just nothing, what can I do, you know? We have an important contribution to the growth of God, and we are really co-creators with a divine spark. And we should embrace that and try to find opportunities to be of service.
Thank you, Kathy. The revelation is quite a cosmic tool to come to a better response to that question, for sure. And discovering who we really are. And, you know, there's an interesting little sentence let's say a creature becomes real in the universe only when it's God identified. That's pretty powerful. Until then, we're nothing. We can become something, but we're nothing. Obviously, I'm sharing with you with what I perceive and feel, and we're all different and we have different point of view, and that's good because that's how we greatly elevate our perspective. But that's really interesting that in a way, in the paper of 112 of personality, say, you human being have only a transient identity. You live, no, you're born, you live, and you die in a moment from the perspective of eternity. So there's a lot of interesting element about this challenge between who am I, which is existential, and who am I becoming, which is experiential. And we're experiential being. And the source of the I am is within us. So, okay. Anybody else? Katrina, do you want to share something?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it me or yeah?
Yeah.
So I start where you say the existential and the experiential. And as a child, amidst dysfunction and lots of dysfunction, I was always told, you're a child of God. And that was probably the only gift I see that my mother gave me. That was an amazing blessing. And it took me a long time to come to embrace that I'm a daughter of God, and not just as a belief, as a child, but to really in all my beingness knowing that. And for me, the process of the experiential is a continuous awakening and expanding of awareness, a deeper knowing of who I truly am. And some of you asked the question of purpose, and I did that too. More than who I am, what's my purpose? And to me, it was only one simple answer, always, since very young, maybe since my teens, is to bring a little more of God's love into this world. That's the only answer I had for my purpose, and to this day. But it is a continuous perfecting and shedding that notion that Kathy was mentioning, that we were put upon, that we are imperfect, that we are sinners and not worthy, right? So this continuous process of perfecting within God's love. That's what I have to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fully embracing our sonship. That's pretty powerful. It's one thing to read it, it's another thing to fully embrace it. Well, talking about shedding, I have an expert that I've been working with for a couple of weeks now, and we're doing a class on the UUI on towards true self-respect. Do you want to tell us a little bit about shedding, Sherry? Shedding the who I'm not.
Oh, Guy. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what everyone has said and shared and experienced in this journey of what it means to be a child of God, what it means to be a daughter or son of the I am. I am learning that I have moved further and further away from living as a strictly material human being and living as if I were already have been resurrected and am living on the mansion world, meaning my sole desire is to be one with the Father and then to love and serve as he would have me do. And in the process of that transformation that continues to happen for all of us, you know, what I'm learning is that I'm not my thoughts about myself that might be dysfunctional or distorted. I'm not the habituated patterns of faulty stories that I've told myself about myself and others. I am not the limitations of my upbringing, whatever those are or were. I am less those things and more about potential. And the more I choose the Father's will at every junction in my life, especially when there's a great difference between my will and God's will, every time I choose the Father's will, I am becoming more like Him. And then I get to slough off, as if I have dead skin, I get to slough off more and more of that material person who lives in the world and does as the world does, right? And sees herself as the world sees one another. I'm more than human. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful journey to learn that I'm not those things that I used to think of myself as. I am a perfecting, loved and beloved child of the Father who sees only potential, who sees only progress, and encourages me and inspires me to keep going. So I hope that helps in some way, Guy. I don't know.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
very
am
much.
potential. I think you inspire us for a song that we might put at the end. And yes, no?
Oh, yes. Yes, surely. And I really appreciated all your I am nots, because I think that the circumstances can define us. People can define us when we are looking for who we are outside of us. But as soon as we decide to look from the inside and stop being homeless people, because when we are looking outside, we're always looking for a place to be, a place to be in the heart of somebody, in the mind of somebody, in whatever. But when we turn to the inside, that's where we're going back home. And when we go back home, it is when we're meeting our divine fragment. And there we can, just like you've been sharing, and many of you have been sharing, we discover gradually who we are by identifying to God. And we let go of who we understand that we are not through experiences. And so it's always a question of where am I turning to? The outside to find the answers, or within me? And well, I think that all of us have understood that it's not outside that we're going to find the answer to that existential question, but well inside. And I'm sure that you know this text of Marianne Williamson talking about our deepest fear. And I would just like to read it to you. It is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You are playing small, does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I think her phone was ringing. Well, thank you, Agnès, for sharing that. 500 years, a famous writer wrote in his play Macbeth, the ultimate question, to be or not to be. This is the question. In paper 115, in the introduction, it says, with God, the relationship is sonship. It's in God that we are, but with the Supreme, you need to do something. But I think a lot of time we do it and forgetting who we are, and that's a challenge to bring the being in the doing. So when we say I am, is it so important to put a complement after that? I am this, I am that. Can I just say I am? Is it possible to say I am? Oh, I am this, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a broker, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that. There's so many, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm African, I'm Canadian, I'm American. This is not who we really are. Someone, a friend of mine say, when we did it in French, we did the webinar in French, say, I used to do an exercise that was proposed in some reading that I did. And it's you put yourself in front of the mirror and you ask the question, who am I? And you try to cut all external stimuli. And then he said, I did it for months. And then I say, okay, if I cut my arm, who am I? Am I still something? If I would be able to take my head off and put it somewhere else and still see myself, who am I? So I think this is a really interesting question in understanding that we're humble, ascending mortal, and we're becoming something. We're really becoming something. So it's not an easy, straight answer. I think many of you, I'd say I'm a daughter or a son of God through living faith. Well, that's good because that's probably the only identification that's valuable and can take us somewhere. Okay. I saw the end of, who was his hand up? Paul? Not Paul, hold on. I think he disappeared. Okay, anybody else would like to answer that question? Before we go to the I am not. Yes, Judy.
I just had a thought on what you just said about people identifying themselves by their profession. And it seems like I've, through my lifetime, met people and I don't want to ask people, what do you do? Unless I get to know who they are. Because I think we form opinions about people's professions before we really understand who that person is. And that's disturbing to me. I think human beings have a tendency to identify people by what they do rather than who they are. And they never give the chance to the person to identify who they are. That was just the thought I had, that's all.
Oh, very good. Very good. Frankie, say Frankie.
Yes. Yeah. Who am I?
You want to show your visual or it's not
It will
possible?
lock. It will lock my computer up. I have to.
Okay. Okay.
I
Go ahead.
can't even display full screen.
Okay.
But yeah, the who am I? I believe that we go through many different levels. Of course, these psychic circles, the cosmic circles, through our life. So, it depends on where we are in our maturity of age and our maturity spiritually of who we are. Who am I? Through the many near-death experiences I've examined and the books I've read about the afterlife, it seems that it depends on the maturity level and the spiritual level and advanced psychic circle achievements as to who someone recognizes themselves to be. You know, it depends on where we are in our age and where we are through our age, advancing through the psychic circles as to really who we are. Who am I? Because we go through revelations. Like I remember as a young youth, already leaving home and getting married and out on my own working, I always wondered, when am I going to be a man? Until finally one day at about 25, standing on a roof welding with a construction company and having men hand me equipment, I thought, wow, I looked around at the skyline and I thought, wow, I'm a man. I'm finally a man. And the realization came. So, you know, we go through life of wondering, who am I? And with the spiritual advancements that we go through, it still progresses. Unfortunately, to the young 20-year-olds that might be on the line here, you've got some more to go through to discover who you are. Because, you know, there is a passage in the Urantia book about age, explaining the age developments of how we progress. So, and it even specifies, you know, 20 years old, 40 years old, of when we reach these certain levels of progression through age, of also being able to achieve those psychic circles. So I'm still not me yet.
You're becoming you.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you. You know, there's a line, what you are today is not so important as you are, what you are becoming day by day and in eternity. I think that's quite in tune with what you said. Doreen,
Yes.
and then Sherry. Thank you, Frankie.
Thank you, Guy. Judy, you know, reminded me of a story, a funny story, and I'll be quick about it. I was going a few years ago to New York University and taking courses, and they invited us to a night program in the Harvard Club in New York City. And what happened, it was going to be the ambassador from Jordan. So I got there and I was a little early, and I'm sitting down, and this man comes running up the stairs and looking around, running down. 2 times he did this, and the second time I said, can I help you? And he said, I'm looking for Professor Alone. I says, well, sit down. He's always late, don't worry about it. He sat down, he was the nicest person, and we had a wonderful conversation. When people started to arrive from the State Department, they were bowing to him. And here I'm sitting with him, and of course, people started bowing to me. And each one at a time. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. And they said, who are you? And I said, I'm nobody. Oh, you must be somebody. And I said, no, I am nobody. They didn't believe me. They said, can I sit next to you? Can I go out to lunch with you? I mean, it was I said, oh my God, how affected people are, how shallow, you know, that it was so important to be somebody. And even if you told them the truth, they didn't hear it. Mm-hmm. I thought, what a lesson for people to, I always look at the kindness of a human being. Are they nice? And he happened to be a really nice person, just as genuine as anyone, you know, on the street. But how people think, it was just so interesting. Anyway, thanks for letting me tell you.
No, that's a good story. Thank you for sharing. I remember when I moved to California, I rented an apartment in Santa Monica, and the guy was a retired dentist. And when he introduced himself to me, he said, I'm Dr. Brown. And I said, oh, thank you, Dr. Brown. And then everything was good. And one day I phoned in and there was something that needs to be fixed in the apartment. And instead of calling him Dr. Brown, I say, Mr. Brown. Oh my God, he was so insulted. He screamed at me. He said, you never call me Mr. Brown again. And I say, wow. I was really shocked, and I giggled a lot. But then, obviously, after that, I think to keep the relationship okay, I understood that this was such a strong identification that he would carry on till his death. Sherry.
Haggy, you know, my beloved mother's here with us, and she's listening, although she's not a Urantia book reader. She is a minister and a woman of great faith, and she has something to share on the question.
Wow, very sure.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hello. I've been eavesdropping.
You should. That's good.
I've been eavesdropping. I so admire all of you, and I whispered to Sherry, those responses are so tremendous. And I had a thought on this question of who we are and who we are not that was, it just stirs in my heart. And this is what I want to say. I am who the Father says I am. He is very clear and very exact about how he sees me, because no one knows me as he knows me, because he is my creator. He knows who I am, and I am not who I think I am. If I do not see myself the way God sees me, then I am shortchanging his creation. He created me the way he wanted me to be for one purpose that I see, so that from my journey here until eternity and beyond, I will conform to the image of his Son, Jesus. That's my goal.
Amen.
That we conform to his image. And all of you are certainly on the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's the first name of your mother?
Oh, Mom. My name is Geraldine. My friends call me Jerry. So you may call me Jerry.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. That was really good and quite in tune with what Kathy shared and Katrina shared earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who knows who we are more than even in the, I know you're not studying the book, but in the thought adjuster paper, we're told that repeatedly, that the thought adjuster knows us, the presence of God within us knows us.
Yes, yes, because his spirit is our spirit.
Absolutely.
Spirit knows spirit. Yeah.
You know, going back to Jesus, I thought it was really interesting. They talk about that in paper 5 about religion. It said, the Jews says, know God. The Greeks say, know thyself. But Jesus said, know God and know yourself as a son or daughter of God. So that's really in tune with what you said, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, you can share more, as much as you want. Okay, thank you, thank you. Wow, we understand where our sister Sherry is coming from now. Great influence. Thank you. All right, who's oui, Patricia.
Yes, because this topic has been brought up. I just had a conversation with my brother, who I hadn't. He's my baby brother, the one that I held in my arms and danced with for thousands of hours. So I feel very close to him, but he lives on the other side of the country. And he retired a year ago. And I asked him, I hadn't seen him for 4 or 5 years. I knew he would probably be having a tough time. And I asked him how he was doing. And he said, oh, weird, you know. And this is the brother that has always known what he was doing and why he was doing it and was always good at doing it. So, you know, when I had him dig a little bit, like, what do you mean weird? he's having an identity crisis. I don't know who I am. I'm no longer a professor. I'm no longer an important person. You know, I also go to a grief group because I experienced that 4 years ago, and everybody there is in crisis. They're no longer what they thought they were in relationship to another person. So I'm just very much in mind that the way to people's hearts is to find people, if we want to serve, those that are in crisis. And, you know, they may be pretending they're not. I mean, my brother certainly was, but I had to ask, how is it going now that you're retired? You know, like, know the pitfalls in life, know the changes that people are going through. And, you know, I couldn't say what the UB book says. You know, in fact, I had given him the UB book and he, you know, sort of delicately said, no, this is not for me. But, you know, what he does understand is being loved and valued, you know, so that it's all what we want. We cannot know our value to God if somebody doesn't in some way tell us about their value to God. And it may not use those words, you know. So just, you know, an avenue of being able to point a person in the direction of their thought adjuster, however it may be done, and to get them at a time when they need it the most, when they're going through a crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
You
know, vas-y,
No,
Agnès.
no, it's just that I often use this image when I share with people. And I say that we've all got a GPS within us. And the GPS is God's personal service for us in any time. And when I wake up in the morning, I know that he needs me to go wherever he knows that that we are meant to go, because he needs to love all the time the people I meet. I don't know how, but he knows how. And I'm supposed to be the taxi driver, and I'm going to drive him wherever he must be to give that love away. But I have to check the technical review of the car. That's my body. Technical review of my mind. Am I enough free in my head to, without, beliefs, limiting beliefs and préjugés. I don't know how we say that in English. No, tu es on mute, Guy. You're on mute. Prejudice and things like that. Am I doing what's necessary to not be in his way when he's doing the job? Because I'm not doing the job. He's doing it through me. And while he's doing it, because I allow him, and that's because I want what he wants. It's really that. I want what he wants, and I want to be that vehicle that he's using to do what he's meant to do, to bring this light on this earth. And so when I do that, I feel that I am. And it's not in my mind. I don't know, but I feel it with all me. I am exactly doing what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to be. Because in that space and time, it is as if I was disconnected of space and time. And that's what I feel being in my personality, but my higher self, because the perception of time and space is totally different. And so we can bring eternity in everything that we do. And it can be just a smile to someone. It can be having that caring attitude in all circumstances of our lives, because that's what Jesus was doing. And so for me, it's really, okay, you are within me. You've got our how do we say that? Our journey, the map of our journey. and I trust you, and I just want to let you lead it, let you lead me to that way. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
We're going to do a spiritual version of driving Miss Dizzy with you. We'll give you a name to your thought adjuster, and but you have a name already, no?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Claire. Well, thank you, Agnès and Patricia. You know, it's interesting when you talk about your brother, because a lot of people are into the doing, and what they are is what they're doing, especially if it's something important and it has a certain go on mute, easy. Okay. Especially if it gives you all kind of importance. And I think what Doreen shared was really in tune with that, because she stand behind someone or beside someone that she was someone very special. I think the Urantia book is really helping us to understand that if you have never been afflicted, it's your greatest affliction. So when it comes time for retreat, you know, many people die very quickly after they retired. They don't know what they are. They don't know what to do. And I think I really appreciate what Rodin tells us. The career of a God-seeking man or woman may prove to be a great success in the light of eternity, even though the old temporal life enterprise may appear as an overwhelming failure, provided each life failure yielded the culture of wisdom and spirit achievement. And that's one of the favorite quote of Agnès. Failure is, can you say it? I'm looking.
No, I can say it in French, but I can't say it in English. L'échec est un épisode éducatif, an educational episode, but I don't think they're going to say that in the book. Sherry, yes? Do they say something similar? No.
Yeah, it's exactly that. But I forgot where it is in the book, but it's a failure.
It's in Rodin's paper. Yeah.
Failure is nothing but an educational episode. Yeah, basically.
So how can we face failure? And if we're not in the I am, because then if we are that I am, then failure is no big deal. But when we're totally identified to what we do and what we think, how important we are, you know, that's another great enlightening passage when they say the work is important, the self is not. If you give importance to yourself, then you lose most of your energy to the wear and tear of ego dignity. So that's pretty powerful too. So let's move a little bit to the second part of the, or the second question. Francis, you want to talk? You have your mic open.
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Good to be here, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Wow, that's a great name, Unfailing Love. Huh?
Yes.
No more name. It's Unfailing Love. That's it. We should be all unfailing love. Okay, let's move to the second part or second question. Who I am not. Have you thought about that? I think, Sherry, you gave us quite a good foretaste of that earlier.
Oh,
and
she did.
Katerina too.
You know, I just feel compelled to share this if I could. I'm sorry for not raising my hand.
No, go ahead.
But a few weeks ago, I was driving back from Steve Dreyer's memorial homegoing service in New Jersey. And I was just reflecting on things in life and everything. And I remember thinking about my past, my last few work experiences and how difficult they were for me. And I suddenly got this insight or this thought, and it was that everything I had experienced was designed to move me away from material pursuits and selfish ambition to focusing that my ambition to serve others. And immediately after that thought, I remember thinking, well, why is that true? And the thought again came to me, and well, because I've made certain decisions in my life, right? And that sets me on a path. It doesn't set me above or below, but it sets me on a path. And my what I've been learning is I could not realize unsocialized ambition because it's not real, it's not true, it's not of the Father. And so the more I try to make my work about me and my titles and my salary and my position and who I knew, the more I failed. And I couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. How come everybody else in the world who has talents and skills and abilities, how come they climb to the top and I'm still struggling, right? And it just came to me so clearly, that is not your path. You are trying to live life from the outside in, from what the culture says you should be doing. You know, what your friends say you should be doing. So I landed up in a new job, and last year I worked at Cisco, and one of my colleagues was talking about how they wanted to find a new job at Cisco, and they need this and they want that and they want this and they need that. And they said, "What do you think, Sherry?" And I said, "I'm here to serve." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "This is where God has put me. This is my cosmic assignment. I delight in being of service. My job all day long, every day, is to answer people's questions and to give them information that I don't have. I love it." And I said, when God wants me to move, he'll move me. But for now, this is where I am. And I don't decide, he does. And so, but that has taken me decades of pain and suffering and trying to force my own solutions, thinking I know what the problem is and then I know what the solution is, right? It's taken me decades to get to this moment. But that's the path. Like, once we sign up for the program, as we have done, right? Once we sign up, it puts us on a different path altogether. And that is what I have come to understand. And so when we say what we are not, I'm not of this world. I cannot operate like the world does. It does not work for me. Does that? I hope that helps in some way. I don't know.
That's really good. I'm not of this world anymore, so I cannot operate. That's really good. Very deep. You know, I think let's read a little quote on what we're not. And hold on, let me put it. No, I didn't put it full screen. Hold on. Voila, it's coming. So who feels he or she has the voice to read that here? Not everybody at the same time, please.
I'll read.
Okay, go ahead.
I cannot but observe that so many of you spend so much time and thought on mere trifles of living, while you almost wholly overlook the more essential realities of everlasting import. Those very accomplishments which are concerned with the development of a more harmonious working agreement between you and your adjuster. The great goal of human existence is to attune to the divinity of the indwelling adjuster. The great achievement of mortal life is the attainment of a true and understanding consecration to the eternal aims of the divine spirit who awaits and works within your mind. But a devoted and determined effort to realize eternal destiny is wholly compatible with a lighthearted and joyous life, with a successful and honorable career on earth. Cooperation with the thought adjusters does not entail self-torture, mock pity, or hypocritical and ostentatious self-abasement. The ideal life is one of loving service rather than an existence of fearful apprehension.
Thank you, Izzy. You're a natural. Kathy, is that in tune with what you were saying at the beginning? About self-torture and ostentatious self-abasement. Well, as Jerry said, your mother, Sherry, God has a plan. You want to make God smile, you share him your plan. You want to make him happy, you follow his plan. That's simple, but it can take years before we get there. We always think that our plan, yes, Agnès.
You can say what you wanted to say after I'm going to say something.
No, I'm okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think that each of us understands that many things have been placed during our childhood. And even though when we are grown-ups, we don't live with our parents or with our educators or with the teachers or whatever, but we have an internal disc, do we say that? An internal record, an internal CD that is working with all those voices that we have gathered. And so we don't have a single one, we have a very big one. And so we don't need those parents anymore or our educators or whoever it is to repeat things. We repeat them ourselves and we're listening to that little voice. And so we, for example, we say, I'm not capable of doing that. And so I'm convinced that I'm not capable. And so I stay stuck with that. And it is, how do we switch? And it's gradually and progressively from those inner voices to that only voice of our adjuster. And that is all the work that we have to do continuously. We're always confronted on, somebody shared before, we are people of choices. So we are in everyday life confronted to take position. And from where do I take position? From those inner voices repeating me always the same stuff. And I am totally, how do I say, my past takes my present in hostage because I'm continuing to be loyal to that instead of being loyal to God within me. So I am the one who has to decide there. And instead of considering myself as a victim because I've been through that, and that, is to say, okay, today there's no victim. God is within me. I can turn to him. He can transform me. He can heal me. But is that what I want? Is that what I want? Because that is the job. That's the work to be done. In every situation, it is a lesson for me. He teaches me. And I can be taught, but am I willing to be taught, or am I stuck with those voices within me? But every day we do a little bit more and more and more, and then when we read about the 7 liberations of faith through faith, it is that God is opening 7 doors to us. Am I stepping in those 7 doors? Am I willing to be free from all that stuff and to be at peace with all those people who have contributed in building up those voices within me? Because no, I decide that there's a stop to that, and I don't want to. I want to forgive And it means to give beyond all those things. And isn't it said in the book somewhere that if I don't forgive others, well, I'm going to stay stuck in my situations. I don't really know how they say it in the book, but they're talking about forgiveness somewhere in.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to open the human extremity of the God man's channel, you need to open the door from within. And that's the way forgiveness works.
Yeah.
Really in tune with what you said, Agnès was celebrating her birthday, and we had a family dinner yesterday, and something happened. And this morning, I sent that little story to the family members. So I don't know how it was taken, but I felt it was quite in tune. So who feels he has a reading voice right now? Who would like to read? Okay. What's your name, Mr. Unfailing Love? You're on mute. It will be tough to hear you if you're on mute. Ah, voilà. You want to read? Okay, but we cannot hear you. Ah, okay. No, maybe later. Doreen, do you want to read?
What do you want me to read, Guy?
Let's read that. The duck with the human mind.
Oh, God, the print is so small. Could you make it a little larger for me?
Yeah, I can do that for you,
Thank you.
for sure.
I can't see as it is.
Well, is it large enough now?
It's a little better. So in the power of now.
Okay, here it's now it's big. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, The Duck with the Human Mind from A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. In the power of now, I mentioned my observation that after two ducks get into a fight, which never lasts long, they will separate and float off in opposite directions. Then each duck will flap its wings vigorously a few times, thus releasing the surplus energy that built up during the fight. And after they flap their wings, they float on peacefully as if nothing had ever happened. If the duck had a human mind, it would keep the fight alive by thinking, by story making. This would probably be the duck's story. I don't believe what he just did. He came to within 5 inches of me. He thinks he owns this pond. He has no consideration for my private space. I'll never trust him again. Next time he'll try something else just to annoy me. I'm sure he's plotting something already, but I am not going to stand for this. I'll teach him a lesson he won't forget. And on the mind spins its tales, still thinking and talking about its days, months, and years later. As far as the body is concerned, the fight is still continuing, and the energy it generates in response to all those thoughts is emotion, which in turn generates more thinking. This becomes the emotional thinking of the ego. You can see how problematic the duck's life would become if it had a human mind. But this is how most humans live all the time. No situation or event is ever really finished. The mind and the mind made me and my story keep it going. We are a species that has lost its way. Everything natural, every flower or tree, and every animal have important lessons to teach, as if we would only stop, look, and listen. Our duck's lesson is this: flap your wings, which translates as let go of the story and return to the only place of power, the present moment. Very good.
Amen. Well, let's flap our wings. Let's go of the story. Me and my story. Oh my God.
So if
Sure.
I may just
Go,
say
go
something.
ahead, Doreen.
Okay, just to follow up, the other day, this detective said to a friend of mine, he said he was in a bar and two guys got into a fight. And he said the police all know never to interfere in the first like 5 or so minutes. Let them get out their aggression and then break them up afterwards. Otherwise, they walk around never letting it loose, you know? And it was such a, to me, an identity of what this Zuck story said. Very good, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Doreen. And you remind me of a story when I was working in prison, and I was with two inmates, and giving self-esteem, no, gestion du stress, stress management. And they arrived already in the corridor, and they were already arguing, both of them. And I just had them, just those two. They came into that place, in that room, and then they continued. And one was in the wheelchair, and the other one was not in the wheelchair. And they were coming to hands. And you know, there are cameras in the room. So the agent came and he opened the door. He asked me to go out, and he said, "Shall we stop the lesson?" And I said, "Don't you know what kind of lesson I'm giving? It's stress management." So I said, I'm okay, I'm fine. Nothing is going to happen to me, but I have to let them go to the end of what's inside of them, because it's a safe and secure place for them to do it. So I'm sticking with them, and I shut the door and I went back to my place. And at the end of the 3 hours that we had together, they shook hands and it was over. And it never happened anymore between them two. But it is really exactly demonstrating what you were sharing, Doreen. It is, especially that it doesn't belong to us. There's I would say a relation which can be represented by a scarf between two people, and nobody else than them two are responsible of what they're putting in their relation, because I am responsible at my end of the relation of how I'm going to feed that relation. And so I can be external to that, see what's happening, and at that moment I'm praying, because we have God and we know that God is within them. And so it is another way of, at another level, doing something, but doing something with God, and that is totally different. So I knew from the beginning they wouldn't harm me at all. And I knew that if I pray God, things are going to move faster than what without God would happen. So really, thank you very much for bringing that point up.
So the lesson is, you want to have a dark mind, go in prison a couple of years, and it might happen. No, is it that? Okay. So what do we need to get rid of? What do we need to let go of?
Jenny wants to.
Jeannie, go ahead. Jeannie, yes. And then I'll share after. Sorry.
Thank you. I think the only place of power is God within us, and our attune with Him, our likeness attained through our personal decisions with God. The moment of now has no power at all. It's something, just an idea in the mind. The reality is God within us. I find this idea of the power of now confusing and not really based on the truth revealed to us in the revelation about God within us, but our real function as human beings. That is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. Kurt.
Yes.
Well, your question, what do I need to get rid of? For me, I need to get rid of judgment, especially my self-judgment and the judgment that I place on others. I need to get rid of my fear, to have the courage to live. And what is that? I'm working on presentation I'm going to give tomorrow on the religion of personal experience. And the experience is why we are here. It's why Jesus came. It's why he went through 7 bestowals. It was so that he could experience. I've got to experience, and experiencing does not require fear, judgment, anger. It's, for me, the experience comes from God, and the big thing that I can do in my life is share that experience with God. That's the most important thing that I can really be doing. So everything else beyond that should be motivated by love and service for our brothers and sisters. And that's what I'm trying to do. Sometimes not so easy.
Not an easy task to be a human ascending mortal on Urantia, for sure. But it gets easier. Kathy.
I was thinking judgment also, but another thing is attachment. We get attached to our story and our idea of what's right and our point of view, and that makes it really hard to have connection with other people.
Very true. Attachment is a pretty big obstacle. Patricia.
I was in a meeting many years ago, well, not that many, but someone was talking about being open to their angels, which was an unfamiliar concept to me. And the thought occurred to me is that my mind is so busy, you know, there's this noise, there's this chatter. If I had an angel, I would never hear them. You know, if I have a thought adjuster, I would never hear it because there's too much noise going on all the time. And I was laying, you know, in bed this morning thinking, you know, I was trying to focus on, you know, my thought adjuster, but there was all this noise. And so I asked myself, where is the noise coming from? Like, what are the issues that keep coming into my head? They are unfinished things from the past, very small things, you know, like maybe dozens, and, you know, like over a period of time, there will be hundreds of things that will come into my mind. And they're unfinished because I was never in the moment at that time. And I was responding with anxiety, with fear. So now I have an exercise that I have to always remember to practice, is that I ask myself, what is in my head right now and why? Like, does it belong here? Is it a piece of the past that is unfinished? And then if it is, what do I do about it? You know, so you can't tell other people, you know, what to do with all of their unfinished business, but you know, you'll think of something, you know, it might be, you know, that's not important. Somehow we need to process that. Is it important? You know, should I send a note to that person? Should I, you know, should I say, well, if that happened again, this is what I would do. So it was a learning experience and now I've learned something. But there's always something that can be done with the noise in our head. And the moments that we don't have noise is when the thought adjuster can be heard, you know. But unfortunately for all of us, there's lots of noise, you know, and I know I have that problem and I'm trying to do something about it.
Thank you. That very good. Well, I think
Izzy would like to share something after you.
And then Alfonso.
Yeah.
About the noise in the head, that's really good. It's only in worshipful meditation that we can really observe it as not, that is not us. If we become the observer of something, that means we're not that, we're more than that. And in worshipful meditation, we know that the adjuster conduct the worship. We know that the soul, our soul, expanding soul, is craving for worship, but the meditation part belongs to us. We need to calm the mind and we need to find a way to calm it. So thank you, Patricia, for sharing what you just shared. Izzy, and then who was it after Izzy, Agnès?
Alfonso.
Alfonso after. Okay,
Yeah.
Izzy and then Alfonso.
Thank you so much. I mean, really, really good sharing. First, I want to apologize. I'm mic'd one place and videoed one place. So if you see the same name or you see me looking away, I am looking at my computer screen here. So there's E. With that being said, I want to share about the I'm not. And what Sherry said was very impactful. And personally, for me, I want to talk about it. So I always say that I was born out of duplicity. My mother's family, my mother hails from a very illustrious family. In the same breath, my father, on the other hand, my rebellious mother, hails for whatever honor the McCartneys have, the Mahomes have all the dishonor for that. So there's always been a place of duplicity for me. And I battled two things that I want to tell you about being not. I need to turn this virtual background off. The first thing that I am not, and these are the two things, and this is really more so probably for my Sunday sharing and Sherry and Guy's class than today. But what occurred to me is in listening to you all, is that I am not the expectations, the unrealistic expectations that I set on myself based on my mother's family and the hopes of not even trying to accomplish what they accomplish, but my wife and I were speaking about this not long ago, is that when you come and you take a great mantle, there's the insecurity of, I don't want to be the one to drop the ball. I don't want to be the one to break the glass. And so I have avoided responsibilities in large part for the greater part of my life. Oxymoronically, there was also the insecurity of being, and he has great common sense, and I guess the colloquial term would be street smarts, if you will. So my father is very wise in his own right. Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, pen name Mark Twain, is one of my favorite people to quote. And one of my favorite quotes is that as a boy of 14, I thought my father the stupidest man in the world. But when I turned 21, I was amazed at how much he had learned in just 7 years. So I've come to have a greater appreciation of the knowledge that he had. But for a great part of my life, not only was I avoiding the responsibility so that I wouldn't fail in accomplishing that which my mother's antecedent or ancestors rather accomplished, and I shouldn't be doing alms either. The other part of it is that my father, I was so trying to avoid being the, for lack of a better term, proverbial nothingness that had come from his family, a family where no one, at least as far as my mother is concerned, at least at my father's generation, had ever graduated high school. In my family, it was the bare minimum, and then they switched that on me altogether. So as much as I am the son of God, I also have to remember that although we are physical and come from our parents, we are not the history. We are not the history of where we come from, nor are we the anxiety of where it is that we are going. That's my 6 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
You. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Izzy. Alfonso, and then Boomer Fred, I guess. Okay.
Hello again. I just want to
Hello again, Alfonso.
bring this story that I read in my Facebook page about this. I think it's from Buddhism. Anyways, that someone asked the teacher, why is that when persons are fighting, they scream at each other so loud, you know? And his answer was, it's because if they were close in their heart, they wouldn't be doing that. They have to scream so they can hear each other. But if they were close, you know, they were in love already in their heart, they wouldn't be doing that. You know, and it means a lot. What is that? The conception or the idea that we have of the others when we address them, when we talk to them, you know. And right now I'm experiencing something that the medicine I've been taking for the problem that I have is changing my mood. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But then I understand that myself. I said, hey, I don't feel like talking. So I'm afraid if I say something, I might not going to say it right. But I said, I feel anger. I feel like, what's going on with me? Why am I sick? So that's the what I'm experiencing right now. So I try to avoid, arguing or, get into a discussion. But I like what he says about it because they're not close in their heart. That person, whoever he's talking to, is too far, so they have to scream at each other, blah 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 blah. Like the dogs, and then they walk away and they clap, and they get rid of all the anger and come back. I mean, that's the story I want you to hear. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso. It reminds
Yeah.
us of what Patricia was saying, is that for sure, when I'm alone, there can be a lot of noise in my mind, but when I'm other people, as Kurt and Katie were sharing, if I'm full of judgment and prejudice, there's a lot of noise in my head and I cannot hear what the other one are saying, really. Tu l'as-tu dit de quoi, Agnès?
No, the next person. So Fred and then Stuart.
And then Katerina and then Pablo.
Voilà.
Fred.
Well, Boomer Fred.
Well, I don't have my video up there, do I?
It's
so I'm
okay.
just talking. I'm a talking,
sure.
talking head without a head. Am I being heard? Am I being heard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I also share what a lot of these people have said about their early life because I was born in Illinois and I was part of a Baptist, conservative Baptist a church that I saw split in half. So I had a lot of distrust of organized religion. So I went on a search, found a lot of different things. And I'm going to try to speed up here because I want to get to the point that I asked, where's Jesus in all this? So when I found Urantia, when I found Byron Belitzo's book, Your Evolving Soul, I was much encouraged and I get a lot of peace from reading that book. But then, recently I came across that untold story of Jesus and I'm reading that book aloud. I'm spreading it to everybody I can. I'm asking all my traditional Christian friends to look at Urantia from a different point of view because there's a lot of people around the world. I haven't been to a reading yet. I haven't seen the big book. I haven't ordered the book that I found out. And I'm elated about this too. 100 places that the Bible can be updated. And my sister, my Christian sister Bonnie, my used to be perfect sister, she said, why does the Bible need to be updated? And I said, well, I think it does because it's 2,000 years old, isn't it? And it was written by maybe enlightened people. And if you have the red letter version, you got Jesus's actual words. And that was always important to me. But if it's going to be updated, shouldn't it be by celestial beings and have it go filtered through humans that are very dedicated to look at syntax and grammar and all like that? And here's what I want to say. I felt a great peace in my heart since I've been dealing with the Urantia, and I'm really trying to spread the word. And I have come across a mountain shaman that taught me how to cleanse and energize water. And I'm bringing this to you because I'm almost amazed it's fascinating to me that we can start out first by taking greed out of water. If it's commercial water, it does have greed because we want to let the living spirit of water in, and light cannot exist. And almost everybody has had greed in the water that I checked, especially your commercial ones, because you got to have a certain amount of greed to sell. But okay, I wrestle with this, but I'm a dowser as well. And that's how I learned how to do the water. The water is being done with the Holy Spirit. That's my connection. Dowsing is my connection with God, Yahweh, Elohim, whatever word you want to put. And I'll just let that up for comment. I am trying to be like Jesus because water was changed by Jesus. No, it wasn't. It was done by the Father. Mother Mary came to ask Jesus, change the water. They've run out of wine. Change the water to wine. And he wouldn't do it. But she saw a change in his eyes or his body position or something, and she knew he was going to do it. Well, Father did it because Jesus promised that he wouldn't do miracles to draw people. And I'm not trying to be a drawer, but I'm an exclusive, I think. And I love it. It's the fruit of my spirit is sincere fairness. I want everybody to have good water. And I got a feeling we're going to come up to a place here where it's very hard to get fresh water. I think I'm going to be quiet now and let comments flow because I'm a faceless talker and I want to let somebody else talk because I'm ADD. Okay. I know that.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you for all the good you're doing. Katerina.
Stuart after, because
I just got to thank you for what you're doing. That's all I need.
All right, so I appreciate very much the dichotomy in family structure that Izzy brought up. And I think many of us may have experienced that. And for a while, we do this dance between one end and the other until we understand this is not who we are, right? And then maybe the anxiety hits where we are going. And in my own journey, that anxiety has abided, maybe some 12 years back when we lost our son, and all fear was taken at that point, or most of the fear, and just some superficial residues remained. And when I was thrown 2 years ago into widowhood, losing the love of my life, all I was left with was loving myself as I perceive God loves me. And sort of I walk in the world, but not of the world, just like Sherry hinted to. And I assume that's the process we all, in one way or the other, will walk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Katerina.
Yes.
Stuart.
And then Pablo.
Yeah, thank you, because I did have my hand up, but somebody must have lowered my hand because I didn't do it. But yeah, I have two ideas to share, Guy. One, I've been thinking on this excellent topic that we're discussing today, Guy, and what you're bringing up of who am I and who am I not. And I find for me, the most profound thinking for me to express my unchanging personality into an identity that is nothing but change. I grow in wisdom, but I change not by that growth. I believe in the eternal now moment. For instance, every single one of us right now, we are disconnected from our past unless we choose to carry it along with us, like in the Christmas story of Marley's chains as a ghost. If we take our past and we say we are destined and we are conditioned by our past, we are not. We are children of God, and we have personalities of free will, and we live in this eternal now moment. And today, right this very moment, we can do anything we want. We have a freedom of powerful expression that we can choose to express our being in a way that's original, that we do not have to contain within a qualified envelope of expression. We can look to the future and have expectations of where we're headed and get a sense of momentum. But all we ever have is this eternal now moment, this very moment that we're sharing here in this community of souls. And in this moment, we are expressing ourselves and sharing our personality expressions of who we are. And they say you can find God in communion in meditation, but the best way to find God is through each other and with our own inner lights that we recognize. And this is where we learn the most, because every destiny, there is no one path to God. It's every single human being has an eternal now moment of decision of original path making. And I just want to add one more comment about this. The idea that our identity and our character expression is nothing but change, but we never change. They say in a quote which I posted in the chat that God does the same thing. He has a unique being that never changes, but he is growing in experience through the evolution of the supreme being. People tend to think that God has it all, but they say that we can give God something of value. Now, how can we do that and not change him? How can he be the unchangeable cause that is not affected by what he does? But he does. He grows in his experience and relationships with us. So that's just the key thing. The point is, this very moment, if you can free your mind of any conditioning that you have and open yourself up to the power and presence of God, you can express anything you want at this moment. And there are no boundaries of what each one of us can do. So that's just my take. I know that's what drives me crazy because I love it. It's so powerful to me.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. You know, I think when we talk about who am I and who am I not, this is a very powerful truth that the solitary messengers share with us. The personality is not only subject to the fetters of antecedent causation. That means we can really free ourselves and become that God-given personality. So thank you, Stuart, for sharing that. And that our personality is unique. But as they say, you know, the thought adjuster is unchangeable, the personality is unchangeable, but the relation between the two is nothing but change. Thank you for reminding us. It's not easy to understand until you start to realize your own personality. And that's what is offered to each of us. It's not offered just to saint or chosen one. Thank you again, Stuart. Pablo.
Pablo.
Thank you, Guy. You know, when I started reading the Urantia book, for me was like a kind of abstract when it says to do the will of God, right? So after several readings, I find out a quote that made me think a lot. The quote is the document 101.1.3. It says that we really make contact with the adjuster in the realms of the highest and most spiritualized thinking. So when I read that, and I really start trying to understand what it says, then I try to practice. No, I think that everybody do try to better the communication with the adjuster. So I have my own way. As Patricia said, when I start thinking, there is a lot of noise. No, so I try to give a time to stop that noise. How do I do it? I try to clear things that I have pending to do. No, and then after that, then I have to think, well, what is important to me to do now? In what area I have to be better, for example. So after thinking about that and making some solutions, and with solution I mean, for example, let's say that I have a task. I need to be more patient, for example. Then I think, okay, I'm gonna try to do it in this way, and I try to figure it out a solution for me. If I have a problem with somebody, for example, then I try to have a solution. How I will act with this person? How will I do it better? And the more that I think, the more that I try to think about the other person also. This solution that I'm trying to making is good for me, but it's good for him or for her. I'm doing really my best. So after really having a hard time thinking and trying to find out a better solution that I can really carry on, not to take it in practice, maybe I have a solution this high, okay? But I recognize by myself that the solution is this high. I can really put it in the reality like this. So I see, okay, this is my decision. I will try to do the best, but normally I have a goal. No, I say I will be happy if at least I can do it in this level. For example, level 5, I don't know. Okay, even when my solution is level 7, for example. But what made me happy? First, I'm thinking. I'm really thinking, trying to find out that solution. So I'm doing what our Father wants us to do, no? To think and to try to be better. So it made me happy. So what I am the one to take that decision and to take it in the reality. This is what I am. What I want to be is my ideals, the better solution that I find out, no? I always try to be better, but this is what I am. So what made me happy? That I'm trying to go in the right path. I'm trying to be like the Father, every day better. And it made me happy to give little steps, but trying to do it better because I see our potential. We are, as the Stuart say, we are children of God. So you know that what that means? We have a potential to see our Father in paradise. We have to be perfect, but we have to start doing something. And we have to start doing, thinking, trying to do the best, trying to see our ideals and trying to reach them, but we need to live also. And we need to be happy because that's what our Father wants for us. And we will see that our love will be manifested better every day because we are trying to be better, thinking and finding solutions. And that's the way that I see that the adjuster try to give us the better advice and to show us the path. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Well, I think most of us probably are familiar with the 4 agreements. And one of the agreement is I do my best. But how can you do your best if you don't do it with the best in you, which is... pas tout de suite, Agnès. Tu partages l'écran, là. OK, merci. How can we do our best if we don't do it with what's the best in us, with the fragment of God that indwells each of us? So, if I don't want to make mistake, if I don't do anything, yeah, maybe I'm not making any mistake, but if I do something, I'm imperfect, I'm a humble ascending mortal, I will make mistake, and that's part of the process. But what's important is to really start to do something in order to become more. Thank you. That was very good. Okay, we're coming to the end of our
well,
exchange.
in the chat, Pablo is referring to the 4 agreements, I think, of
well, Frankie,
be impeccable with your word. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Take nothing personally. That's another one. Don't make supposition. Yes.
Well, a lot of, you know, I remember 21 years ago when I started studying the Revelation and hopefully living its teaching to the best of my abilities. The 3 questions were, how long you've been reading the book, how many times have you read it, and what is God's will? So Agnès has quite an answer for the first 2 questions. Is we have a boys' club on Monday night. We used to. And when she was coming from work, she was joining us for an hour, and she said to the boys, when you gonna get to them? You want to say, Agnès?
When you're going to get over there on the other side, do you think they're going to ask you how many times you've been reading the book? They're going to ask you, what have you done with the bloody book? And how many people did you bring back to my house? That's what they're going to ask us. So drop the book. Of course, it's a source of inspiration, but it's not to remain a book. We have to personalize all those pearls of wisdom in our behavior and in everything we do in our lives. Yeah.
Amen. that create quite an impression, I can tell you. Okay, God consciousness as it is experienced by an evolving mortal of the realm. I think we're all evolving mortal of the realm, are we? Must consist of three varying factors, three differential levels of reality realization. There is first the mind consciousness, the comprehension of the idea of God. Well, I think the book is supplying a lot of amazing material to achieve that. Then follows the soul consciousness, the realization of the ideal of God. I'm going to stop there. And the realization of the ideal of God is that God wants to become us. And if he wants, in order for that to happen, to be transformed by God, we need to let go of many things that we're holding on to, because that is in the way of God transforming us. And once we're transformed, or in the process of being transformed, we can be way more useful to our brethren. Okay, to the question I am, my brother Easy found something really good, and I'm gonna ask him to read it, because I think we're all in the process of getting to that place. You want to read it, Easy? I'll put it on the screen.
Absolutely. Starting at paper 182, section 1, paragraph 9. But when Jesus had finished his earthly life, this name of the Father had been so revealed that the Master, who was the Father incarnate, could truly say, I am the bread of life. I am the living water. I am the light of the world. I am the desire of the ages. I am the open door to eternal salvation. I am the reality of endless life. I am the good shepherd. I am the pathway of infinite perfection. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the secret of eternal survival. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the infinite Father of my finite children. I am the true vine, you are the branches. I am the hope of all who know the living truth. I am the living bridge from one world to another. I am the living link between time and eternity.
Well, I think he knows who he is. But I think a lot of them could be applied. We can be good shepherd. You can be part of the light of the world. We can be living waters to people that are thirsty, that have thirsty soul. We can bring the bread of life to our brethren. So Sherry shares something, and it inspires us a song that Agnès will share. And we will do a little prayer after that in closing our time together. Thank you for being with us, all of you. And I think we know a little bit more who we are. We're truly sons and daughters of God through living faith, and we're becoming finalizers. So we are something and we're becoming something. Agnès. You might want to close your eyes and listen to the word, but the words will be on the screen too.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. Oh, light. Yeah. Oh, light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. Yeah. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Thank you. Thank you for being light. Thank you for being light to everyone that you come across. Thank you for being a blessing to everyone you encounter. Thank you for carrying that light within you and sharing it abundantly with everyone you encounter. And never be afraid. God is always with you, and He will even put the words in your mouth. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Love you guys. Love you, Guy, Agnès, Jeannie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.